Hey everyone, you're listening to Kinda Tempted.
I'm Kimai,
And I'm Tanisha.
and today we're kind of tempted to be bilingual. Let's go. Woo!
I want to take a second to say that we really appreciate every listen and every ounce of support that we get from you guys. So thank you so much. So, Kimai, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about being bilingual. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm bilingual.
Wow. Hi everyone. I'm tempted to be bilingual. I do not consider myself bilingual
We,
yet, but
yeah,
hopefully get there.
we're
Yeah.
we're kind of tempted to be bilingual. We're not completely there, but we're trying our best every day, probably.
Yes. No,
Um,
not me, but one day.
we wanted to do kind of like a series related to us being Asian, growing up Asian, things that we've experienced, things like that. And honestly, being Asian is something I've been my entire life. And so it's something I can speak about for a very long time, something that just doesn't fit into our 1 hour episodes, sometimes 1 hour and a half. So, Tanisha and I want to be very specific when we talk about these things. And today we're talking about our languages that we speak.
I'm super excited to be talking about this. I didn't really realize how excited I would be until I started typing out notes. I'm like slurring my words today. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what the fuck is
Um,
wrong with me either.
I don't know. Like, is it the pasta I just had? Does pasta make me slur my words? I don't know. I think that it's really important for us as Asian women to be able to come here and amplify our voices in our culture and media and just talk about diversity and maybe introduce you guys to some things that you might not know. And then having that open up the conversation to you guys teaching us things about yourselves. So, super excited to be here, super excited to talk about it. And yeah, today the focus is languages, but we
Mhm.
will definitely get into more Asian based topics later on because
Yeah,
it's
and
just
if
a
you
big part of who we are. Yeah.
exactly. And if you have any suggestions on anything that we could talk about, please let us know because our options are dwindling. Um,
Okay.
but also, we are obviously going to be speaking about the languages that we grew up speaking, but being bilingual doesn't mean you have to grow up knowing that language. You can always learn another language anytime. So, hopefully, this will encourage you to embark on that journey to learn another language or to improve upon the languages that you do know.
Yes, that's a very, very good point. There's definitely room for improvement on my end. And I already know that you know more about your family's language than like I know about mine. So I'm excited to learn from you today too. So
I try my best. A lot of the times it's just kind of like filling in the blanks. Like, I don't know what this word is, but I do know what the word before that meant. And usually it's meant well with this. And so I'm going to assume that you said, "Are you hungry?"
wow, I really feel that. Especially when people speak really fast and I'm just like, I don't know, but I'm gonna use context clues to figure out what's going on.
I know. And the different dialects too. We'll get into that later.
Oh my God. So, can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kimai and I'm Vietnamese.
Hi, Kimai.
I'm really excited to be here today. Yeah, anyways, so I am Vietnamese and I am fully Vietnamese, probably. I mean, I say probably because both of my parents, they were born in Vietnam and we are pretty much Vietnamese, but in like back in the day, we probably have some Chinese blood on my dad's side. I think it's like
Mhm.
my grandfather's grandfather was Chinese and he moved from China to Vietnam. So, I mean, I don't really have, I don't know anyone that's a relative who is, Chinese or like, I don't think we're connected to that side still. But I mean, if you ask me, I'm Vietnamese. Okay.
That is what you identify as
Yes, that is.
Vietnamese.
I'm very
Yes.
curious though to do those like, what is it? You and me. What is
The
it?
23andMe like DNA test. You and me, girl. You and me. You got two words right, okay?
The 23andMe DNA test. But like, I'm a little scarred because I think I saw someone who is Asian and they like they did that test and they came back and it said you are Asian, but it didn't specify anything else. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I know that I'm Asian, but I'd like to know like specifically which Asian am I.
Yeah, I
So
get that. I feel like I'd be so disappointed if they just told me
yeah,
I was Asian. I was like,
like
bitch, I know, look at me. I know. That's
I'm
so
sure
funny.
I'm sure they've improved since then, but I need to be sure because I'm not spending money just for someone to tell me that I'm Asian. Like, thank you, but no,
Oh
thank
my
you.
goodness. Just talking about like these DNA tests real quick,
Hmm.
like your results are dependent on which company you go to for the DNA tests because I
Mm,
think they compare your data to everyone else's data that has taken that specific test for that
yeah,
company. And then I guess that was a while ago that that person just got Asian as a result. So that probably means that there weren't a diverse group of Asians that had taken the test before them. So
yeah,
maybe that's why they had just gotten Asian as a
yeah.
result.
Maybe if someone buys it for me, I'll try it out. If I have to prick my finger though, I don't know how the fuck they do that shit, but like whatever it is, like I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, Tanisha, please introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi guys. My name is Tanisha and I am Thai.
Oh my God. Wow.
Oh
Amazing.
my gosh. And when I say I am Thai, I am Thai, not Taiwanese, okay? I am
Oh my
from
God.
Thailand. I think this is funny too, and I laugh about this too, but I find that there are some people who are still confused about this, so I feel like I should reiterate.
You know what? I feel that. Not for me, but I had a friend who I grew up with, and this is when she was young, okay? I'm pretty sure she knows the difference now, but when she was growing up, she was half Vietnamese and half Hmong. And when she was growing up, she thought Hmong was Mongolian, but
Mm.
like Hmong, like Hmong. And
Yeah,
when I was growing up, there's not like a big Hmong population, so like I didn't know either. I was just
right.
like, oh, okay, I'm gonna trust her that she knows what she is. Yeah, we didn't, and I think she knows now, but I understand that. So it's like people think that you shorten it, but it's like
Right,
no, like
yeah.
there's actually a population out there that is Thai, but not
Yes.
Taiwanese.
That is
Yeah.
true. And giving your friend credit, I don't think I knew about Hmong people until I was a teenager or maybe even later.
Yeah, me
I don't
too.
think it's very commonly well known. So,
Mm-mm.
yeah, unless you are in an area where there's a huge population. I think the
Yeah,
Midwest has a big population of Hmong people, interestingly.
it's
Um,
interesting.
yeah, that's what Travel Channel tells me. And hopefully I remember that correctly. But I also want to shout out the AV Club podcast too with
Oh
Annika
yeah.
and Vanessa
Hmm.
because they did have an episode a while back talking about growing up Asian, and I think Vanessa was talking about being Thai, and she also mentioned that people confuse being Thai with being Taiwanese. So
And you were like, I
uh,
could relate.
yes, and I was like, yes, girl, you get me, you understand the struggle. Just want to bring that up again and shout them out. So, yes, I'm Thai. My name is Tanisha. Both of my parents are Thai and they grew up in Bangkok's Chinatown. Bangkok is the capital of Thailand. And our family, like yours, Kimai, is also rooted in China. But I think my grandparents' parents or my grandparents themselves are the
Hmm.
ones that moved to Thailand from China. So maybe
Okay.
not as far back as you, but still in the same vein. I identify as Thai, even though my family has roots in China. Yeah, that's definitely something that you can determine for yourself and how you feel about yourself, right?
Hmm.
And a quick rundown about my parents. So this is going to be a common thread throughout this entire episode. My dad is pretty Americanized, and so
Hmm.
are his sisters because they moved to the US at a very young age, like high school, college age, right?
Okay.
So my dad came to the US for some high school, college. He went back home, met my mom, and then 2 weeks later, they got married.
Oh my gosh.
2 weeks, yes. And then they decided to move to California, change their last names to something more American. My last name is Tyler. So that's the short rundown of what's going on with my
Okay.
family.
Do
Yeah.
you know your original last name?
I do. Okay, get ready to drag me for my pronunciation. Okay, anybody who knows a Thai accent, this entire episode's gonna be a fucking mess, and I'm sorry in advance.
You
Okay,
know what? That's fine. I can't tell. So I'm just going to be like, wow, you're so good.
see if I never said that. Okay, just wipe that from your mind. Okay, we could edit it out anyway. Let's go. Okay. My dad's last name, so my mom took his last name, was Ratanasri Ivanich. That's 7 syllables. Okay. And then my dad came to the US and shortened it to Tyler, 2 syllables, because it was easier and
Is
quicker to write.
okay.
Yeah,
You know what? Yeah, he was really thinking about you during star
he
testing.
was.
He
Oh
was like,
my God.
damn, my baby can't be circling 17 syllables, okay?
Yeah. Oh my
She's
God.
got two, she got 5 letters in her name.
That's all she
That's
needs.
enough, okay?
Oh my God. I always thought about that during STAR testing. It's like, okay, there are only so many boxes here. What happens if you have more than the boxes provided? What do you do?
You know
What do
what?
you
You
do?
just you try your fucking best, okay? And you hope that they give you a good grade, okay? They're like, I didn't
Oh
have
my
time
God.
to finish the test. I was still bubbling in my name. I had a friend who had a very long name. Like I think his last name was like almost 13 letters or something. And I'm sure half the time he was bubbling it in, okay?
You gotta go down those bubbles and find those letters for like every letter in your
No,
name too.
exactly. And then you still gotta write it up there. You gotta bubble like bubbling shit. That's
Yeah.
hard, okay? They should have just given me a marker so I could just puncture that stuff just once, okay? Damn,
God.
they should do that.
Way to bring everyone back to like standardized testing in school, Kim.
I know. It's okay. We don't need that anymore. Just
Um, I
just
do,
kidding. Yeah,
but
you're taking the MCAT. That's fine. Never mind.
but we're not here to talk
Anyways,
about things that traumatize me today. No, we
no.
we are here to talk about the languages
Yeah.
that we speak. So, Kim, what language do you speak?
Hi everyone. I'm Kibai and I speak Vietnamese. Okay, I speak it pretty okay. How about you,
we love
Tanisha?
we love truth here.
Yeah.
I speak Thai and
Wow.
I speak it less than okay. So that's where I'm at. And I feel like I learned Thai the most from my family, just like
Hmm.
being at home and talking to my parents and my aunts, uncles, and my grandma, most of all, because she is the one that lived in the same household as me and my parents. In order to communicate with her, I couldn't speak English. I could only speak Thai or a very specific dialect of Chinese that my grandma knows. And so
Oh,
that's where I
okay.
learned most of what I know of Thai.
For me, growing up, same thing. Like I spoke a lot of Vietnamese when I was at home with my family. My paternal grandparents lived very close by. So we would visit them like every week. My grandpa actually used to pick me up from school. So I would be with him a lot. And then we'd always have like my dad's side of the family, they were pretty much in the San Jose-ish area. So we would always like every weekend or every other weekend, we'd have like a family party or dinner at my grandparents' house. So I'd be speaking Vietnamese all the time. And I also had a babysitter who only spoke Vietnamese. So
Oh,
yeah. So that was really helpful too, because actually, like at home, my parents have also been here since they were like, my mom has been here since she was 13. My dad's been here since he was 18. So like
oh
pretty young.
wow.
And honestly, I think they're more fluent in English than I am in Vietnamese. They understand English very well. So like having that babysitter who only spoke Vietnamese really enforced me to like speak it very well. And also I was very close to her. She was like another
Mm.
grandma to me. And I really loved her. So I would talk to her in Vietnamese and converse in Vietnamese with her. I also went to Vietnamese school. Hmm.
So do you feel like Vietnamese school helped you like a good amount with learning the language?
I think so. I think Vietnamese school really helped me learn how to read and write for sure.
Okay.
I think if I didn't go to Vietnamese school, I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have now of being able to read and write. Though, if I am reading something, I can read it really well, but like I don't know what I'm saying. Like if
Okay. I
I
feel that,
can
yeah.
like I'll read it, but like if I'm reading like a book in Vietnamese or like a poem in Vietnamese, like I know like pho ba, okay, and pho ga, I know what food is, okay,
Mhm.
but if I'm reading like a long story, I have to really slowly think about what I'm saying, or I just don't know what the fuck I'm saying, you know? Like one time my dad told me to read a poem, I read it, and he's like, "Did you understand it?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't. I need to like, I have to go back and think about this."
And
But
honestly,
yeah,
like that's amazing for you to be able to read it and write it because there are a lot of accents in Vietnamese, like a lot
there
of accent
is.
marks and
Mhm.
differences in inflection. So like I think that's crazy.
Yeah,
Good
there's
job.
like three kind of A's, three kind of O's, all
Oh,
these little squiggly wigglies in there. And I mean, if someone were to tell me, like, there's these two symbols, one looks like a worm and the other looks like a question mark. Okay. They
Mhm.
both fucking sound the same. One is just you
Oh.
hold it, you just question it a little longer. And then the other one is like, it's like, it's hard to explain because like I don't even fully understand it. Okay.
Oh my God.
But I can read and write pretty proficiently, and I would give credit to Vietnamese school for that. Also, being in Vietnamese school, like you're just constantly speaking Vietnamese, and even though like your friends could speak English, like in class you'd speak Vietnamese, and it was just kind of like you spoke a little Vietnamese to each other. So it's like practice every week in that kind of environment, and then like
Yeah.
at home too. Did you go to any like school?
I did go to Thai school,
Hmm.
but it was Thai summer school for maybe 2 summers. I don't even
Oh,
know if I finished those whole summers. And that explains why I did not learn how to read or write Thai.
damn, Tanisha, you a dropout?
Yeah. Yeah, I am. I was like, okay, can I go home and watch cartoons now? Thank
Oh my
you.
God.
But this was also when I think I'm gonna say seven,
Okay.
7 years old, or maybe even younger, because I think they gave us nap time. So probably much younger. I
Um,
don't know my ages and grades. I'm sorry, guys.
Tanisha was
But
like, fuck this shit in Thai. And then her parents were like, I'm not paying for this shit if you're gonna be a little bitch, okay?
probably, honestly. Yeah. And school was kind of far away too for us. So I think it
Oh,
just
okay.
wasn't a priority. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I did get most of my teaching from home from my grandma.
I think I was lucky that in San Jose, there is a huge Vietnamese population. There was a school nearby that we could go to. There are actually multiple schools. So it's like we could choose which Vietnamese school we want to
Oh,
go to.
wow. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I'll definitely touch on population density later because I feel like we're different in that aspect, like with
Yeah.
Vietnamese and Thai. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Tanisha was
just
like
integration to culture.
solo.
I was like, why am I not blonde? Which is like kind of sad, kind of true.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be another episode. We were talking about like our family and then our teachers from the Asian schools that we went to that helped us learn to speak the language, right?
Mhm.
And repeating again, I am worse than okay at speaking Thai. Your girl is not fluent at all. She is really not. I can understand conversational Thai, but I have to really, really deeply concentrate to understand what people are saying in Thai, especially if
Mm.
they're speaking really quickly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know what just happened. Okay, I know you were speaking Thai, but like that's about it. Okay. And it's like really hard for me to in my brain search for and latch on to words that I can say in response if somebody is speaking Thai to
Yeah.
me. I gotta dig. I gotta dig through all those like folds in my brain, okay, to find it. And like sometimes I still can't find it. So I just don't say anything, you
You
know?
just say it in English, broken
Yeah.
Thai.
I default to English sometimes because there are a lot of Thai speakers, even in Thailand, that, well, Thai students are taught English from a very, very young age throughout
Yeah.
school. So they're just very good at English already. It's kind of bad that it's easy for me to default because then I don't try as hard to find Thai words, right? What about you? How fluent would you say you are?
Well, I'd like to think that I'm fluent, but I feel like my Vietnamese has deteriorated as I grew older, like especially when I
Okay.
went to college, because I didn't speak Vietnamese as much when I was in college. Usually I spoke it when I would see my family, visit my grandparents every weekend. But like in college, like I'm not saying like Jiao Ji or something, like, I'm not going around the streets of UCR speaking Vietnamese, okay? Even if you join VSA, they're not speaking to you in Vietnamese, okay? Like that's the thing. I feel like there just weren't many opportunities for me. I mean, I didn't really look for these opportunities, but like if I like
Yeah.
rolled out something in Vietnamese, people would be like a little confused because they didn't speak Vietnamese. And then again, like my parents, they're pretty fluent in English. So even if I spoke to them on the phone, it would be like half Vietnamese, half English, or like they'd speak to me in Vietnamese, I'd respond in English. Like I didn't
Yeah.
understand how much it mattered to like practice continuously until like my Vietnamese was already like very, very, very low. Because when I was growing up, like shit, like I could just speak forever in Vietnamese. I was singing songs in Vietnamese. I
Oh,
was like
wow.
arguing in Vietnamese, but now I'm just like silent if you try to yell at me in Vietnamese, okay? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, honestly, like that's true for me in terms of Thai. But yeah, the only person that you are teaching Vietnamese to is probably Alex, and you're teaching him to say that he's a pig, right? Like that's a memory.
Oh my God. That's true. I have to credit Alex for keeping my Vietnamese strong at UCR.
Yes, yeah, he was an integral part of Kim Mai's retention of Vietnamese for
Thank
sure.
you. I will
Um,
forever know that phrase because I taught it to Alex.
Wow. Knowledge tied with memories, the most effective
Yes.
kind. I definitely understand what you mean when you say that when you went away to college, the language leaves your body, like it
Hmm.
just dissipates into thin air.
Yeah.
Because I would talk to, well, my grandma was at home. I couldn't talk to her every day when I was away at school, living like 2 hours away. Right. So that went away. And then when I would talk to my parents on my phone, like maybe it was just short phrases. And I think I could hold a better conversation when I was a toddler in Thai than
Hmm.
I could now, which is disappointing in a
Yeah.
way. Yeah. I mean, no, you know what? It is absolutely disappointing and I
Yeah.
want to be better and I'm going to fix it. It's just not quite happening right now, but we'll get there.
You know what? You got this. Okay, that's your declaration.
Thank
That is
you.
your promise. We will try our best. I will say that I did pass a Vietnamese test to be considered bilingual at my job. Okay, so I am
Oh,
officially
wow.
bilingual according to a third party provider.
We love it.
And that test, it was a mess though. Like it started off easy. They were like, hey, who's in your family? What does your room look like? And then
Mm,
it started asking me like, what do you feel about social media? What do you think about
wow.
COVID? And also it was a lot. Like maybe I'll go into that story another time because it's like it's kind of funny.
I'd love to hear about it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, we're talking about languages. I might as well tell my story now, right?
Go ahead. I'm ready.
Okay, so like I had to take a Vietnamese test and it was a struggle because I didn't really know what to do. Like conversationally, I'm more used to speaking with like my family, right? So I was
Hmm.
speaking to this lady and she was like, we're going to start off easy and then it's going to get harder. And so I was speaking to her and she's like, okay, describe like your family. And I was like, hey, I got a sister, I got a brother, I got two parents and a dog. Describe what's in your room. Bitch, I got a bed, I got a table, and I'm just like, I don't know what else is in my, I don't really have that much in my room. Like, do I lie what's in my room? Because she doesn't know what's in my room. So I had all of these thoughts. And then it got to like this, when I took this test, it was like January 2020 or something. Okay. So like
Okay.
around COVID, like things were happening, but it wasn't happening like happening.
Hmm.
So they were like, oh, well, what do you know about COVID? At that time, I didn't know anything about COVID. I was like, I heard it's in France. And that's all that I knew. Okay. Okay. I was just like, I don't know about COVID that much. I'm sorry. I don't really read the news. And she's like, okay, what about, how do you feel about social media? And I'm like, you know, it's not the best, but we try. And this is all in Vietnamese because as it got harder, I couldn't express these concepts
Yeah.
in Vietnamese, but I could tell you that I had a bed in my room and a table. Okay. And I passed the test.
As you're saying these words, I'm like trying to translate them into Thai, and I'm like, this is already hard. This is difficult.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
she was like, what does your parents do? And I'm like, my dad is an engineer, but I didn't know how to say engineer in Vietnamese. So I said, he's an engineer. Like that's basically what I said.
In
And he's
English.
like, yeah. And she's like, try
Yeah.
not to speak English. I'm like, well, do you know what engineers? I'm kidding.
Kim is like, I'm the interviewer now. Okay.
Yeah. And then like there's words like she's like, describe your job. And I'm like, well, a lot of the words that the things that I do in my job are things that my parents even say in English. So like upload a document or like download. So
Yes.
I, an app. And I asked my dad and I
Yeah.
like I didn't know what to say in Vietnamese. And they were like, try not to use English. I went home and I was like, hey dad, how do you say download in Vietnamese? And he's like, I don't fucking know. Download, okay? Like that's how you say it. And I'm like, Dad, tell that to my test take, like my
Yeah.
test person, okay? Like, what am I supposed to do if what we say in Vietnamese is pretty much English, you know? Like, do I
Oh
just say
my
it in a
God.
Vietnamese accent? Like, um, buy, download, cái này, or something like, you don't just make it Vietnamese at that point? I don't know, but it was a
Oh my
mess, but I
gosh.
passed.
Dude, I'm proud of you. I am not considered bilingual by a third party, so I congratulate you.
You know, I'm sure if you tried, you probably would get it.
Mm-mm,
I
no,
don't think it's that tough.
no, mm-mm. I have been to the Thai, like the Thai embassy or something. Like I went to a government building in Thailand when I was visiting and they asked me some questions and I was like, bitch, I don't fucking know. I cannot answer you in Thai. I don't even know what the fuck you're saying. Okay. Like, please try again in a
Please
different
try.
language because I cannot.
Wait,
And I'm
which
sorry.
button is for English?
Looking around, I don't think I am in the right place. Let me just remove myself from this building. I'm
let me
sorry
let
for
me
wasting your time.
let me pull up Google Translate and hope that translation is sufficient to get us to
Dude,
communicate.
Google Translate is so bad. Not from experience, but just from like other people saying that it's bad. And okay, my parents, right? They're just like, Google doesn't know shit. We have like a Google Home where you can talk to her
Yeah.
and she'll like answer questions for you. And they're like, I don't know what the fuck she just said. And I'm like, so there's that.
If you speak another language and you don't speak it well, I'm sure you can relate to us.
Laughing at how incompetent I am. Okay.
I'm like, damn, I really grew up all these years just to fucking learn nothing about my life.
And tell the internet how we don't know anything. Okay.
You know what? Maybe they'll bully us hard enough for us to actually go back and learn.
Accountability, but make it aggressive. Oh man. So I cannot read or write in Thai. And Kim, just like you were saying, like there are so many accents in Vietnamese, like that they sound the same sometimes, like for certain words. If you Google the Thai alphabet right now, like it is,
It looks
there
like,
are a bunch of mountains there that I do
yeah,
not know how to
to climb.
translate.
Yeah, it's a lot of mountains. She can't
Dude,
fucking
that's so
climb it.
good. Good job.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
I got you, dude. Okay, like I've seen Thai. I don't fucking understand it either. How do you know when one word ends and another word starts?
Girl, I don't know. I have no fucking idea.
I've been
Okay.
to Thailand once, and what I got from there was that they really, really, really treasure elephants, and their food is very good, and they're very friendly people.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I thought you were going to say something related to language, but then you just didn't. I was just taken aback. Okay, but I appreciate these kind words about my people and my home country, okay?
Please translate it for them so they can understand.
Oh fuck.
Oh, I'm crying. This is too much.
So now we're gonna move on. And Kinmai, let me ask you. So, what do you think is the best way to learn another language or Vietnamese in your experience?
I think speaking the language that you want to learn regularly is the best. I took like a Vietnamese class in college. I don't know. I think whenever you take a language, they have that class almost every day compared to like when you're taking
Oh,
calculus or some shit, like that's
mm-hmm.
something you just need 2 hours a week or something. But like when you're taking a language class, usually it's like an hour, like for 5 days a week or 4 days a week or something, just so you can keep practicing. And I think like if you surround yourself, especially like with people who speak it and who people who speak it well too, like if you're
Yeah.
speaking it to a friend who doesn't know anything about the language as much as you do, like you don't know it, you're both going to be fucking having bad habits speaking to each other in
Yes.
nonsense. Okay, like I'm not saying that like you can't learn from your friends, but make sure you learn the good shit from your friends. Okay,
Right.
because I'm sometimes I say shit and I'm like, oh shit, I'm not saying it right. I don't need to be teaching anyone else this. Example, Alex Zhang. Okay, like,
Hmm.
but yeah, I think speaking it regularly is the best. Try to like speak to like your family more often in the language, or whoever
Yeah.
that knows the language really well, like I was saying. And I also think listening and watching movies or music
Mm.
in that language is helpful too. I personally think that I pick up languages pretty easily, and if I were to really seriously study like a language, I could be very proficient in it as well, like other languages. Like I learned Japanese in college, in high school. I learned Japanese in high school and I picked it up pretty quickly and pretty easily.
Wow.
And also like when I watch dramas in like Chinese or Korean or Japanese, I'm
Yeah.
able to like pick up grammar and words there. Like I don't know everything. I'm not saying I'm a master. When you are watching those things consistently and you're hearing it a lot, then you can start understanding it, right? But the key to speaking
Yeah.
is that you actually have to fucking speak, because If you're not
Mm-hmm.
speaking it, you're just gonna like trip over your words. And that's literally what I do in Vietnamese because I haven't been speaking it as much. My comprehension, pretty good. Okay. My speaking, subpar.
Yeah, same. Like I will understand everything that comes out of your mouth most of the time in
Most of the time, yeah.
conversation, but I cannot give that back to you at
Yeah.
all.
Like
Yeah.
you can tell me all about your issues in Vietnamese. I'll probably understand. But like if you ask me like how are you doing? I'm like, I'm good. Like I don't even
Good or
actually I don't even know how to say like if someone asks me like how are you doing? I don't know how to respond to Vietnamese. I'm like, mm-hmm.
we try our best.
Yeah.
In looking for context clues, we also create context clues for
Yeah.
the other party to try to understand us.
Uh-huh. But what do you think the
I
best way to learn is?
I agree with you in terms of frequency. It makes a lot of sense. Like I've never taken a language class in college, and it makes a lot of sense for them to have it like 5 days a week instead of two. And practice is a big thing too. Like if you're not actively speaking, again, you're going to be like me and you understand things, but like people think you're mute because you cannot respond. And I did also hear that TV shows were a really great way to learn a different language, right? And in terms of when we're talking about Thai, we did not watch a lot of Thai TV growing up, and technology was not as great as it is now when we were toddlers. The TV was not a flat screen, okay? The TV was a big box. And the internet was not maybe as well dispersed in Thailand as it was in the US at the time. So it's just
Yeah.
difficult to get maybe like a Thai drama through to the
Yeah.
US. Yeah,
Okay.
so
And
I think that's a big thing. Yeah.
yeah, another thing is that Vietnamese shows, they're not very good. Or in my opinion, I have seen many like shows in Vietnamese where like they're yelling at you. Okay, they're not yelling at you, but it sounds like they're yelling at you. And I'm like, damn, get the mic a little bit away from her a little bit, like we don't need to hear her screaming into the mic. Like it
Oh.
is it too close? And like, is she okay? Like something like that, Or like the story is just really not that super great. But then, we have Korean dramas coming in here with like really good storylines
Yes.
and it's enjoyable, like if Vietnamese dramas could be at the same level as Korean dramas, again, maybe I haven't seen it. If anyone knows any, please let me know because I would like to watch something without needing subtitles. And I mean, I still might need subtitles for Vietnamese, but like that's the thing. Like I'm over here knowing these sentences in Korean, but like I can't even say it in Vietnamese because my people, they're just trying their best, but it hasn't really they haven't raised to the occasion. Okay.
I mean, you can ask Amanda, you can ask Christine and Jessica, all these
That's
people.
true.
Um,
Everyone just start speaking to me in Vietnamese and let's see how that goes.
I mean, there's Kim Mai's not just trying to shit on her people, okay? There are other countries like China, their action movies and their dialogue is maybe not up to par as it is in the US, and that's
Mhm.
just something that is, it's not
Yeah.
like we're shitting on them, but like sometimes it's just not the same.
Yeah.
And I have another story about the force with which the Vietnamese language like seems it's coming out at times. My mom, her best friend is Vietnamese, right? And when I was little, I heard her talk to her husband one time. And then I asked my mom later, like, why is he so mad at her? Like, I don't understand. And she's like, it sounds like that, but like, I don't think he's mad. And I don't think I'd ever heard anybody have a conversation in Vietnamese before. So I think I was just not used to it. And then my mom's like, I
Yeah.
think it's okay. It does sound aggressive at times, if I'm
They're
being
just
honest.
they're really passionate. Okay. When people speak in Vietnamese, they're really passionate. And like sometimes my mom, like she's on the phone, she'll have it on speaker and she's yelling. And I'm like, if you can't hear, maybe we need to get you some headphones, okay? If they can't hear, maybe we need to get you a mic, okay? But you don't need to keep yelling, okay? Like she can wake me up in the morning just from a phone call. And and I really have to like reconsider my life sometimes. Like Do I speak like that aggressively? And I could be when I'm speaking Vietnamese. And it's also like back to the dramas and stuff, just accessibility, like you were saying too. If it was here, if we had a lot of Vietnamese stuff on Netflix, maybe I would watch that. Maybe I need to look and surf through the web again. I think watching really helps
Mhm.
you learn the language. And also like how people like converse with each other, because sometimes when you learn something in class, it's not really how you speak to
Yeah.
someone, you know?
And it really explains why a lot of native speakers of whatever language, sometimes it's hard for them to pass like standardized language tests, or like they think they're going to
Mhm.
fly through the certain levels in college classes for different languages because they speak it at home all of the time, and like that's just what they do with their family, but then they get to the formal words and they're just like, I don't
Mhm.
know what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's completely different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like in Vietnam, I think like the proper way to speak Vietnamese is the dialect in the north. But then like my family is from like middle and south. So we have like different ways of saying certain things. Because when I was in Vietnamese class, I think my professor was from the north. So she taught us certain things that like we just don't say in the south, or like from my family and the way that we speak the language. There's
Yeah.
also like different dialects and ways things could be said depending on the region you're from.
And just imagine being like knowing a rural dialect versus like a formal dialect, I guess, or like in the city dialect.
Yes.
You could be accused of being like a hillbilly. Like I could be a Thai hillbilly, okay, if I speak a certain dialect of Thai that's rural and not spoken in like the major cities. And it would hurt if
Yeah.
somebody called me a hillbilly, but that's really how it is. It's like,
Yeah.
why do you sound like a peasant? I'm sorry, my entire family line was full of peasants, and that's why. And I don't know what else to tell you. Okay, I'm sorry. Like,
Damn, damn, she's hurt right now, guys.
I am who
Everyone,
I am.
don't fucking call Tanisha a peasant. She's gonna get triggered, okay? You stop that right now, okay? Her tie
Oh
is
my
not
God.
peasant-like, okay?
I mean, it's just like I know so much slang, and I know like more and more bad words as like I get older, right? And my parents are like, okay, I can just say shit now and it doesn't matter because she's older.
Yeah,
And I don't know that I can't say these things until I say it and somebody gasps.
yeah.
And then they're just like, oh my God, like, how can you speak that way? Like, your family is right here. And I'm like, I literally don't know what the problem is. We say this all the time. But my mom's like, shut up, don't tell them that.
Oh
Stop,
my god.
okay? And I'm like, you should have taught me that when I heard it the first time. And then
Oh
maybe I
my
wouldn't
god.
have.
Oh my
And
god.
that's what it is.
My dad and my mom speak differently, and sometimes my dad will be like, "Don't say that. That's like low class." Like
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And so
yes.
like I think I know the difference because my dad has taught me, but like it's interesting. And also going back to like dialect, there's one dialect that like I know pretty well because my grandmother, she is from an area called Hue, and they have a very like strong dialect. And like the way they speak, it sounds like a roller coaster. Like they're just continuously going up and down,
Mhm.
like throw those accents away, like I'm making my own shit, okay? And so my grandmother, like she is from there, but like she doesn't really have a strong dialect from like at least what I can tell. But like a family who still lives there, like my aunt came to visit and she was speaking to me and I was just like, can you say that again? Like she thought I didn't speak Vietnamese, but I'm like, I just don't. I need you to speak slower because she spoke really fast and the dialect was like all over the place. I was like, I don't know if you're saying this word or this word. And half the time I was just nodding, just hoping that my nods would translate well into what she wanted. So she had to like speak very slowly to me. And I think the different dialects are very, very cool. Like I really love listening to them. I just need to fucking understand them. Okay. Like that's a
Yeah,
struggle that I deal with every time I approach someone who speaks in that dialect. But it's
yeah.
cool. It's really interesting how different regions have the different ways that they speak. Sometimes I just
Yeah.
look real dumb when I don't know.
It's almost like a different language, honestly. And like if you don't know that
Basically.
specific dialect, it's very difficult just to pick up on it.
Yeah.
Okay, Kamai, so what was your first language?
I think my first language was Vietnamese because I'm pretty sure like my parents' first language is yeah, my parents' first language is Vietnamese. I'm pretty sure like when I was in the womb and like outside of the womb, they probably were like more easily speaking in Vietnamese than English, because it's more natural for them to just like
Yeah.
speak in Vietnamese. And then again, like I had a babysitter since I was like basically one who watched me as my parents went to work. And so like she
Mhm.
spoke to me in Vietnamese. So I think as I when I was growing up, my first language was Vietnamese. And then like I was able to like learn English as, my siblings were older than me, so they would speak to me in English. And then my parents again were like pretty fluent. So it was like Vietnamese and then English. How about you?
Okay. I am the opposite. I think my first language was English. And again, I'm going to say that my dad and my aunts were already very, very Americanized.
Mhm.
So I feel like they already went about their daily lives just speaking English only. And so I think my first words were in English, I'm pretty sure, pretty much because my family assimilated into American culture. It was easy to kind of stay in that bubble of assimilation and not branch out into a Thai community that was
Mhm.
local because, first of all, there was none. Okay. You
Yeah.
had to drive 30 minutes towards LA just in order to get to a place where there's a bigger Thai population. And I remember that in school, like high school, there were maybe three other Thai people that I can think of. And two of those three were only half Thai. So it's not like
Oh,
we're going around school speaking Thai at all.
yeah.
It's mostly English, right? And the temple that we went to was 30 minutes away, like where the community was. And so I think I just was kind of okay just assimilating into the American culture. And that's just how it was.
Yeah, I think like, well, I don't know if y'all know, but I was born in New Jersey, not a very high Asian population in the area from what I can recall being 8 months old.
Wow.
But yeah, so I wasn't born and raised in California. I was born in New Jersey straight out of the womb and then flew to California and was pretty much growing up here. And in California, specifically in the area that I live now, there is a large Asian population and a large Vietnamese population within that. So growing up was like opposite of Tanisha, where like you grew up in a mostly like what would you say?
Oh, white. Most
White.
of the
Okay.
population was white,
Mo-
honestly.
mostly a
Yeah.
white population, and I was
Hmm.
mostly like I was around a lot of Asian people. Because of that, a lot of people at my school spoke Vietnamese. I could turn the corner and there'd be someone who spoke or understood Vietnamese. I didn't really have to like assimilate into white population or anything because I
Hmm.
felt like it was just very normal to be like Asian. So I think like I was lucky too that I grew up in that kind of environment, that I was able to practice Vietnamese more, because for me, it just felt
Yeah.
like it was more useful to know Vietnamese. And we were also
Hmm.
going to a lot of areas that were like 5 minutes away, 10 minutes away, Vietnamese grocery store and Vietnamese restaurant. It
Yeah.
was just easier to communicate when you could speak the same language as a person who works there or you need help from, you just ask in that language. And it feels more personable too.
Just to touch on what you said, my cousins live by where you are now,
Hmm.
and they know a lot more Chinese, even into their teens. And one of them is in college now because they have the option of going to a Chinese school. They're half Chinese, going to a
Hmm.
Chinese school after school every single day, right?
Yeah.
Whereas my high school and elementary and everything like below, right, was 30 minutes away from the nearest Thai school that I could even go to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then, so it's just not like a viable option. It doesn't make sense, right?
Hmm.
If you think about, okay, forgive me because I'm not exactly sure if assimilation is a passive or what's it called, active thing. I was never forced to assimilate into, I just want to like make sure that's
Clarify that.
clear. Okay, nobody was like, girl, you're acting too Asian, you need to calm down. Okay, there was none of that. Okay. And for
Yeah.
me, it was very natural just to never engage in Thai conversation because there was never an opportunity presented to me to
Yeah.
do that unless I was with my family. So
Mhm.
I was never forced to be
Just to clarify,
white or
okay,
anything like that. Yeah.
Tanisha is okay.
I'm completely okay. Like I was fine. Basically, I just want to let everyone know that I was fine. Maybe if I did live in a population that was more densely Thai or maybe even more Asian, then I would have grown up more like Kimai, but it just wasn't
Mhm.
like that for me.
Yeah,
So,
which is
yeah,
fine. Okay, we grow
which
up
is
in the
fine.
area. We grow up in the area we grow up. Sometimes people just have a little bit more opportunities to engage in their roots than
Yeah.
others, but it doesn't make them any less of who they are. Okay, just want to put that out there.
I was not tied down. I was not actively trying to be white. It just, that's what I turned out to be because
And it's
that's what I was
fine.
surrounded by. Yeah. And
Yes,
I'm
okay.
okay.
Yeah. Anyways, which language do you think in?
Okay. I don't know if you can guess by what I have just said. Okay. What language do I think in? It's English. 99.9% of the time, it's English.
Shocker. So
Wow.
surprised.
I know. So, yeah, everyone outside of my family, everyone spoke English. So that's just what I was able to practice every single day of my life, right?
Mhm.
And that's what I spoke in school to learn. The other point, 0.01, I don't even know how many nines I said after my 99. Okay. But like my 0.1% of the time is Thai or the certain dialect of Chinese that my family knows and that we're from. So if I want to speak in public, but I
Mhm.
don't want other people to understand what I'm saying, I'm going to communicate in Thai because there is not a big population of Thai people here. So chances are no one's going to know what the fuck I'm saying. And that's exactly what I want. Okay.
Yeah.
And then even when I'm talking on the phone, I have this weird thing about not wanting other people to hear my conversations. So if I'm talking to my mom on the phone, I will respond to her in Thai, even if she's talking
Mhm.
to me in English, right? If I'm at the gym with my dad, I'm going to speak to him in Thai. And even if I'm talking to Dave sometimes and I want to have a private conversation, I will speak to him in Thai on accident. Dave is Filipino. He does not know any Thai whatsoever. Okay. But in my
Tanisha,
mind, I'm like, I'm in private mode. Let's switch languages. Okay.
she's like, I
So,
want to have a private conversation with
yeah,
myself as you are present.
right. Private conversation with myself because nobody else knows what's going on.
You know
That,
what?
yes.
Yeah, I slowly want Brian to pick up Vietnamese. That is the dream.
Right.
He knows how to say very good, like this is delicious. And I can say certain things to him, he'll know what to do, like close the door, lock the door, turn off the
Oh,
light.
wow. That's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm trying.
I try to teach Dave a word. Okay, there's a word for like kanji or like boiled rice soup, right?
Porridge.
Katom. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
There are many words for it, right?
Yeah.
But so in Thai, it's katom. And I was trying to teach that to Dave. And it was funny because he kept saying it in like a Tagalog accent. And I'm just like, it's not right, but it's
It's
okay. We're trying. This
you're
is the
trying.
first step. Yeah. I really need to get to a point where I can actually pass on something useful to my children.
I know.
And that's why I want to learn more. So along with Thai, I also said Chinese. Okay. And this is very common. Have you ever heard an Asian person exclaim, ah, yeah, like,
Hmm.
yeah. So that frequently runs through my mind on a
Hmm.
daily basis, just when like shit happens. Like if I drop an egg on the floor, which did happen a couple days ago, in my mind, I was like, ah, yeah, you know. And my grandma would say that all of the time, and it just stuck. And I actually Googled exactly what Google thinks it means. And they said expressing surprise, blame, dismay, shock, or fear. So it encompasses many, many different emotions.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's a general like, ah, or oh, you know,
Like, oh my
that's what
God.
I is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about you? What language do you think in?
For me, it really depends on the situation. I feel like it's like 75% English, maybe 25% Vietnamese. Like when I'm speaking in English, I'm thinking in English, but when I'm speaking Vietnamese, I'm thinking in Vietnamese. Sometimes, like when I am looking at something and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Or like, oh my God, what that like kind of comments like that, I'll say in Vietnamese in my head. This is something that I say to Brian or anyone sometimes. I'm just like, ôi trời ơi, cái thằng này không có biết gì hết. And like
Oh wow, wow, wow.
what it means is like, oh my God, this dude doesn't know anything.
Oh shit. Just roasting people all the
Yeah,
time.
basically. And like I say that in my head all the time. And so there are like phrases that I say, or like things that I don't know how to say in English. I'll say it in Vietnamese. So
Yeah.
like it's I think it's like a 75% 75% English, 25% Vietnamese. Someone has asked me this before, and I thought it was really interesting that they had asked me this because I don't know, I had never thought about that until they had asked me. It's interesting. That's actually, I think, a very interesting question to ask people who are bilingual because like
Yeah.
you'd be like surprised.
It's interesting because I know that I think you wanted to talk about this, right? You brought up the question for us to talk about like in the notes. And you don't really know what language you think in until like you really catch yourself at like different moments, and you're like, you have
Yeah.
to be conscious of it, right?
Like I have a lot of Vietnamese words that I know that I can't say. There are a lot of English words that I know that I can't say in Vietnamese, but there are also words in Vietnamese I can't say in English. Like a lot of it has to be with like has to deal with like certain expressions that I can't exactly translate into English. Like the one that I just said, like I translated it pretty well, but like you just don't get the feel, you know? Like it's a little
Hmm.
sassier than that, you know?
Yeah, I'm just sitting here trying to think of Thai words that I can't translate, but you're right. Like in Thai, you'll say a phrase and it has a lot more attitude than if I were to try to translate it into English.
Mhm.
And there's no way for me to convey that without using way too many words, and then I lose the feeling completely,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And but I can't think of like I feel like there are a lot of like descriptions for behavior.
Uh-huh.
It's like, oh, she's acting a certain way. But it's like, how
Yes,
can I explain
yes.
that to somebody in English? I can't. I literally
Yeah.
cannot.
I think like the phrase that I mentioned earlier that I would say to people and like Brian, that's something that I say in Vietnamese because if I were to say that in English, it just, well, for one, he'd understand it. It's not the same feeling if I said that in English. Like, God, this guy doesn't know
Oh,
anything. Like, that's fucked up. But if I say in Vietnamese, it doesn't
right.
seem as fucked up. You
Yes,
know?
I know.
It
I
just
know
seems like
exactly what
it
you
just
mean.
seems like something my mother has told me all my life.
Yes.
Maybe it's normal.
I can bring up Asian media that has come out recently. I can talk about Squid Game. I can talk about Shang-Chi.
Mhm.
Okay. There are many Asian Americans who have watched these movies and they have said, oh, I can understand the language that they're speaking in the
Mhm.
show. But then reading the subtitles, it's just not the same. It just
Yeah,
doesn't give the
yeah.
same feeling. And then we just lose a lot in that translation for
Hmm.
the sake of like trying to make other people understand.
Yeah,
And it's
like
kind of frustrating.
yeah.
You would never know unless you grew up in that culture and you
Hmm.
experienced it. I'm trying to remember this line from Shang-Chi, and I think the dad, okay, he has lived many, many, many lives. He is very old. He's like 1,000 years old or something like that, right? And he looks at this old man and he's like, how dare you speak that way to me, young man? But then, like, the real translation, like, in Chinese is supposed to say like, I have lived 10 more lives than you have in your blah 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 years. It's just, it sounds more poetic, there's more feeling and more emotion, and that's just lost when you try to translate it sometimes.
But yeah, there's a lot of
Okay.
shit that just doesn't translate exactly how it is in another language, you know? Like if someone, even if
Yes.
someone asked me to say something, translate something from English to Vietnamese, dude, I'd help simplify that shit too, okay? Like if you were trying to tell me a novel, I'd be like, oh, the curtains were blue as marigolds. And so I'd be like, it's blue like a flower.
Hmm.
And if you ask me what kind of blue, it's sky blue. That's what it is,
Wow.
okay? Like,
It's a valiant effort. Okay.
exactly.
Very
Like
good.
it's not gonna be that detailed, okay?
So Kim, I know that Vietnamese, like I was talking about, the Thai alphabet is like a bunch of mountains, right?
Mhm.
But Vietnamese uses similar like letters that we have in English. I forgot what the correct term for that is, like the same sort of alphabet, just with like a lot more different like accent marks.
Mhm.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Vietnam was
Please help.
colonized by the French,
Yes.
and so their language was influenced from the French language. So that's why they have like alphabetical, like it looks like the alphabet, like
Hmm.
the English alphabet, because
Hmm.
they have French influence. And I mean, I don't really know where the accents, like all those little squiggly stuff come from, but that's what I know. Like I just know that
Hmm.
like it looks like the English alphabet because it's influenced from the French.
Right.
If I'm wrong, then like you can tell me, but like that's what I know.
I mean, that makes
So
sense. French influences everywhere, like, even in the food and everything. So
yeah,
that makes sense.
like banh mi, baguettes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's some sort of French
Delicious.
influence. And like the way I say luggage in Vietnamese, vali, that's a French word apparently.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
So there's like some words in Vietnamese that are like from like French or like related to it in some sort of way.
So I ask this in a convoluted way because I want to know if so you have been to Vietnam, and
Mhm.
when you are driving around and you see street signs or just signs in general, are there ever any English translation or phonetic translation that you see
No,
on the signs?
not that,
No? Okay.
no. Actually, in Vietnam, like I feel like when people were when students are in school, they do learn English, but I feel like in
Mhm.
Vietnam, people are speaking Vietnamese a lot more. Like it's more heavily Vietnamese speaking, right? Than like I feel like in the Philippines, they speak a lot of English and they still have Tagalog, but like in Vietnam, it's like you learn, I think, English up until like the eighth grade or so, but like you're not learning it very well. It's not like super drilled
Okay.
into you, but like a
Yeah.
little bit to like get by. So like when you go to Vietnam, they can understand a little bit, but like they don't really speak it. They would rather speak Vietnamese, or they're just like, I
Okay.
don't I don't understand English kind of thing. So they like, I think
Okay.
maybe nowadays it's better, but like back then, from like I don't
Mhm.
know, the past few years that I visited, like mostly people will speak in Vietnamese. But I think like the younger generation knows English now. Like I think like my aunts and like cousins who are closer to my age,
Mhm.
they can speak English very well.
That's interesting because that's actually more different from Thailand than I thought it would be. So in Thailand, we have mountains, okay, for our alphabet, okay?
Yeah.
A bunch of different shaped mountains with different
Hmm.
peaks and valleys, okay? And because of that, if you look at our highway signs or signs on buildings that say what the building is for, there will almost always be an English translation underneath it. And a lot of the time, if it's a Thai word, like the city Phuket in Thailand,
Hmm.
like it will be written in English letters, right? So that people can read it and get around and understand. And then I feel like I also don't know if there's been a progression, like more people now know a lot more English than people did in the past in Thailand.
Hmm.
But I feel like most everybody will know a good amount of conversational English. So
Hmm.
if you were to be a tourist in Thailand and you want to get around somewhere, like you would be able to communicate just fine, even if you didn't know any Thai at
Yeah.
all. And I feel like they're not shy to practice at all. Like sometimes I am shy to attempt Thai words because I know it sounds so freaking terrible,
Yeah. They're so excited over
but they don't give
there.
a fuck.
They're
Yeah,
excited. They want to learn. They're just like, speak to me in
right?
English. I'm like,
Yes.
okay, that's the best I can do, you know?
Yeah. And like I'm not at a place yet where I don't know, like I want to be better, right? Like I want to be as excited to learn too like that, but I think I'm just really shy because first of all, I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to like say something in a slang term that somebody could take the wrong way. And so I don't know what words are correct to say or
Yeah,
really
me too.
offensive.
Me too.
So
Yeah.
it's hard and sometimes like I just don't speak because of that and like I don't think it really should be that way. But
Yeah, we should practice.
yeah, I could definitely practice and
But yeah,
learn.
I think with the street signs and stuff, like
Mhm.
everything, like Vietnamese, it looks like English. So
Yeah,
like you can kind of get by. I mean, the shit you say probably is not very close to the pronunciation, but if you can remember how
right.
to spell it and you write it
Mhm.
down, like I can read Vietnamese even without the like
Mhm.
punctuations or like
Mhm.
whatever the accents, and I can like figure it out. So I feel like
Yeah.
they're just like, I don't really need to say in English. Yeah,
No, that
we can.
makes total sense. And I also brought up phonetic pronunciation too,
Mhm.
though. And by that, I mean like if you go to any Thai restaurant in California or like anywhere in the US, you can order some pad Thai, right? You can order some pad Thai and they spell it PAD, pad, Thai, THAI, right?
Uh,
The real pronunciation is pad Thai, right? But in order to create a phonetic pronunciation that people can try to attempt to
mhm.
speak and we can still understand, then like that's how it's translated. Um,
Mm.
and
Tanisha
then
just schooled us
also,
all.
oh my God, let me tell you something, okay?
I fucking knew Tanisha in
Um,
5 years. She never told me the real pronunciation. She just laughing behind my back.
no, but it's like sometimes like when I go into Thai restaurants, like if I show off my accent too much, I feel like they're going to try to speak to me in more Thai. And I'm like, I don't know if I can carry conversation. So sometimes I'm just all up in there like pad Thai. Okay, give me some chicken
Okay.
pad Thai. Okay. I'm not about to correct anybody on their pronunciation. Natasha also, like, I have another story. Natasha, her boyfriend, he went to Thailand. He went to Phuket for a backpacking trip, I think,
Mhm.
when he was younger with like another one of his friends. And Phuket, phonetically for English speakers, is spelled Phuket. And PH in English has the F sound, right? So he keeps saying Phuket. And I'm sure that's because he learned it that way. And
Yeah.
like it makes sense when you read that word, it's Phuket, right? But that triggered me so freaking hard when I heard
Oh
him
my
say
God.
that for the first time because I asked him about his trip. I was
Yeah.
like interested to know. I was like, oh my God. But it's not his fault because phonetically we decided we needed a PH instead of just like a PU or something, you know? So Phuket it is. And like it's fine, but also I'm triggered.
So if you're listening to this, fucking stop. Okay. Like you need to
Stop.
stop.
No.
Okay. I'm just kidding. No, I get it. Like it's the same thing
Yeah.
for me where it's like with food, there's like pho. People call it
Mhm.
pho or po.
Right.
And I'm like,
Yes.
no, this is not a Teletubby. Okay. This is a rice noodle dish called pho.
This is not a
Okay.
Teletubby.
Like,
Poe is a Teletubby. Okay.
okay, like no Tinky Winky Dipsy Lala or Poe. It's pho.
Mm.
Okay. So that's my thing. Like it hurts me.
Oh,
But like at the same time,
yeah.
how am I gonna have people who have been saying pho all their life, who have never done a little like, thing in their voice to say pho? It's hard. And when someone
Right.
asks me, like, can you please help me? And I've said it 5 times and they're still not getting it. I'm like, you know what? You tried your best. And this is my
Yeah.
limit. Okay. Like,
Right.
like watch a video and repeat it each time. Okay. You don't need me to keep
Mm.
saying it. Okay. But if you're really trying your best, I appreciate it. But
Right.
faux is not your best. Okay. That is not your best.
That is, we can try a little bit harder on that one.
Like you can say pho. Okay. Fine. If you can't say pho, fine. Just pho. Okay. But pho, no, no. Pho or po,
Mm.
no, thank you. Okay.
Mm.
Try again another time. Okay. And then maybe you can have some pho.
There are lots of strong feelings in this episode that I did not expect
No,
before
I
sitting
didn't.
down to film this. But yeah, we know that you are trying, and we are not the best at speaking Vietnamese or
No,
Thai.
no.
Okay, we are not experts, but also it feels like little daggers that you are stabbing into our hearts sometimes when you pronounce things wrong. And sometimes it's just not worth it to correct it, and that's okay. But it still hurts a little bit on the inside.
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you now, like we bilinguals, we who speak in other languages, we will I mean, I think most of us are happy to like help you learn.
Right.
But again, if you're gonna be practicing it like 10 times, we got a limit too, okay? At another on another hand, like where is my money for this private lesson? Okay? Where is it? But
That would
also
make it better. Yeah.
it would make me a little bit more patient and understanding if you were just like $100 for you to help me say pho. Okay, like
That's a good
okay,
deal
all
for
right.
you.
But like at the same time, if you're gonna keep insisting and be like, no, 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 just wait, bitch, watch a YouTube video, okay? Like there are Vietnamese or other there's fucking Duolingo. Try
Yeah,
that.
that's true.
Okay.
Mm.
Like
Mhm.
if if I was suddenly Professor Mai teaching Vietnamese, then okay, ask me all your questions. But like after like a few times of you trying your best, that's my best too, okay? So
Kim I literally said, pay me or replace me with
yeah,
something that does not have feelings so they will not hurt every time you say this word wrong. Give them a video, give them an
yeah.
app. Okay, just
Like
Kim I needs a break.
I'll be really nice about it, but this is like literally what's going on in my head, okay? Like if anyone out there is trying to like learn a language or improve upon the language they're
Oh,
trying
yeah.
and trying to improve upon a language that they already know, like we're also trying, okay? We're all in this together. We are trying to be like multilingual people because that's what's going to get us above in life, hopefully, or just to know about other people's culture. And I love
Right.
that. we're trying our best though. Okay. Like, don't
Yeah.
expect someone. Oh, you know what? Another thing, I've had people, this is not even about me, but like, I know I had a coworker whose last name um, sounded like a Mexican last name, right? And so
Okay.
people who spoke Spanish would come in, and he also, like, I guess he like kind of looks like he would be able to speak Spanish too. I don't know, but they would come in and be like, "Do you speak Spanish?" And he doesn't. Like I think like his family has been in the States for a long time, so like they
Mm-hmm.
don't speak Spanish. And they would be like, "Why? Why don't you speak Spanish?" like don't ask people why they don't speak a language or why they don't know. Okay, like that's already something that they don't
Oh
what
my
it
God.
doesn't make any sense. Okay, like if they don't know how to speak it, just respect that. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's another thing. Like if you think someone looks Vietnamese or someone looks Thai and you're like, oh my God, tell me about your life, and they're like, hey, I don't really know too much. Please respect that. Okay, like as much as
Oh
you want to
my
push them to
God.
teach you, they also can only dig so deep for that
Right.
information that they don't have. Okay,
Yes.
so
Yes.
yeah, like sometimes people ask me about Vietnam and I'm like, let me check back in with my ancestors who actually live there. Okay, like I don't know.
Let me just call him real quick. Okay, give me a second. Give me a second. Let me see.
Nicole, can you tell me? Like, no, okay, like I can't. It's like asking my parents,
Oh
like,
my goodness.
how was it growing up in California? They didn't fucking grow up in California. Okay. Like there's no way. Like,
Why are we assuming? Let's not assume. Let's
exactly.
just,
Okay. So let's just be respectful of the levels that people are at. Be open
yes.
to helping each other, but also
Yes.
know your limitations and other people's like comfort levels. And this is just, I
Yeah.
don't know why I like went on this rant, but
She's
like it's
triggered. That's
just
why.
I'm triggered. Okay. Like it got to the Teletubbies and I was there. I was like, fuck no,
No,
okay.
it was downhill from there. Oh my goodness. Yes. So my Spanish teacher, okay, it just happened to be my Spanish teacher. She said, assuming or to assume makes an ass out of you and me. And if you know, assume is spelled ASSUME. Okay, I'm the one spelling in this episode, not Kim Mai. Okay,
My God.
so it's true. It's true.
That's yeah,
And
like
that stuck with me. Okay, I used to volunteer in a hospital, right?
yeah.
And there is a good percentage of nurses who are Filipino. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so frequently, you know, sometimes you just talk to people when you're walking down the hall. Many Filipino nurses would ask me in Tagalog, do you speak Tagalog? Are you Filipino? And I would sit there and I'd be like, no, I'm sorry, I don't. And then they would be like, why? Okay. And then I would be like, oh, I'm not Filipino, you know? And they're like, oh, what are you? And I'm like, I'm Thai. And then they're like, oh, sawadee cup, you know, like
Yeah.
in Thai.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. But then like as they walk away, because they cannot converse with me in Tagalog, okay, because I do
Uh-huh.
not know any, I hear them just like talking like behind my back. And then sometimes they'll flip in and out of English and Tagalog. And I know that from context clues, they're just like, she doesn't speak it. I don't understand. And I'm like, I just told you that I am not Filipino.
We are not the same Asian.
Thank
Sorry.
you for trying. I look it, okay? You look at me, my caramel skin tone, okay? You look at my nose and you're just like, she must be. But like, it really, that is assuming. And
Yeah.
I am not. And I'm sorry to disappoint you, even though I am not Filipino.
Yeah. That happens to me too.
So,
Like people will come in and they just start speaking to me in Chinese and I'm just like, no, I'm sorry, I
wow.
don't. Yeah, like just instantly, like not even like, oh, are you Chinese? They just start speaking to me in Chinese. I'm like, oh, I'm
Mm.
sorry. Yeah, so it's hard. Thank God for
But has
Google
ever,
Translate.
yes. You know, she's trying her best too. She's not
We
the
all
best
try
all
our
the time,
best.
but she's
Yeah.
trying. Okay, but like one other thing that you guys might relate to if you are Asian. Has anyone ever come up to you and said ni hao? Just if you're Asian. That's it.
That pisses me
That's
off.
it. And sometimes they are so happy. They mean well, but it hurts. Like that's the first thing you say. That's okay. It okay,
No,
it's not
it's
okay.
not okay.
It's not okay, but I sometimes it's easier to just pretend that it's okay if that is the only interaction I'm ever going to have with you in my entire life. Sometimes.
I don't agree with the ni hao just because of the look. I don't agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was like someone at work, not like currently, but like someone who used to like temporarily work with me.
Mm.
He like found out I was Vietnamese and he was like really into languages. Okay, like I knew he meant well, but like he learned a Vietnamese phrase from Google Translate and said it to me. I didn't fucking hear what he said, so I was like, yeah, yeah. I thought he just said something in English because I couldn't hear him. But then like he said, "Oh, did I say it right?" And I'm like, I'll be fucking honest. I don't know what you said. Like, what did you say something to me like that I should know? And he's like, "Oh, it was Vietnamese," and
Oh,
I'm like, he was like, it was good
was
morning
it?
in Vietnamese. And I think like on Google Translate, it literally translated like good morning, not like a
Yeah,
greeting, but
yeah.
like good
Yeah.
morning. Like this
Mm-hmm,
morning
mm-hmm.
is good, you know? And
Right.
so like I didn't, I was like, oh haha, like I didn't really understand, but you tried your best, you know? And
Yeah.
like, yeah, it just kind of caught me off guard.
I mean, I guess like, okay, yeah, Google's trying her best. He was trying his best. He meant
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Um, but I think if you didn't grow up knowing a different language, maybe you really wouldn't know that Google didn't
Yeah.
translate exactly, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes it's just a little startling when things like that
Yeah.
happen.
It's
Um,
like, they mean well, but it's also like it's kind of triggering sometimes, like you could just
yeah,
ask me like, hey, how do you say good morning, or like what are the common
right.
greetings,
Yes.
instead of like throwing something from Google Translate at me like shit.
And it's only triggering because like it happens often, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like a prevalent experience in the Asian community. So everything is for a reason, you know.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody seems upset about something, maybe they've heard it one too many times
Yeah,
and you might not
that
have
could be
known
it too.
that. But yeah, so
Do we want to learn more?
hell yeah, I do.
Me too. I really want to
Yes.
learn more. I really, I hope to eventually teach my children Vietnamese, but like, damn, I ain't teaching them shit if I can't even teach myself. So I got to work on that first.
Yes, I relate with that 100%. I can teach them words, not even phrases.
Yeah.
Okay. I can tell you, like, I can teach my kid bathroom,
Mm-hmm.
food,
Mm-hmm.
okay, door, things
Same. I
like
say that
that.
shit every
Okay.
day. Close the door, lock the
That's
door.
that's it.
Yep.
Shoes,
I
underwear,
know.
important.
I try to practice whenever I can, but like I feel like I give up when it comes to like complex conversations because I'm like, oh, like I can better articulate in English, but like I
Yeah.
should really be trying to say this shit in Vietnamese. Maybe I've been trying like Duolingo, but I haven't been able to keep up with it. So
Mm.
yeah, I should, you know what? Maybe this has encouraged me to like get back on that Duolingo train.
Maybe I need to get on that train too. I mean, okay, so you guys know that like I'm with Dave, right?
Mhm.
And one of my fears, it's not really a fear, like I don't think I'd be upset if this were to happen, but he is very fluent in Tagalog, okay? And he is more religious than I am. So
Mhm.
right now, if we just were to have kids right now within the state that I am in terms of like knowing the Thai language, which is nothing. I don't know anything. Okay. Our kids would only know Tagalog and like probably follow the religion that Dave does. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I need to be able to give my children something.
Yeah.
And also, I don't want my kids and Dave to talk about me behind my back and
Dude.
me not knowing what the fuck is going on. Okay.
You better
Because
take those bitches and be like, you are not saying shit about me. I am your mother. I birthed
oh
you. You better learn my language. We'll learn together.
and then they go up to dad, mom's being a bitch.
You're like,
Oh
what did
my
you
God.
say? Mom, we love you.
Yeah. Oh God. Like technically, Dave could teach me Tagalog too, right? But little children are like sponges and they
Yeah, they
just
really are.
absorb languages very, very easily. And
Yeah,
I don't think I'd
lucky
be able to keep up
bitches.
with that pace.
Exactly. Like, I can say
Jeez.
something. I'm like, you can say something to me. I'm like, auto I don't understand will not
Right.
register because now my mind is
Right.
too complex and can
Yeah.
veto
Oh
whatever
my
comes to
God.
me. But as a child, I'm like, I can understand this. I'm sure I can understand it. It's being communicated towards me. I must understand it. Bitch,
Yes.
good
What
job.
happened?
Like, I know. God. We got to that point where we're like, we have enough information. Thank you very much.
I think that's it. Our brains are kind of full. We
It's
just need to
fine.
do a little organization, a little cleanup, throw some things away, and then like put some more language back in. I think
I
that's
feel very strongly about going back to Duolingo now. I think I'm gonna do that. I'll update y'all maybe.
Did she just pick up her phone because she's
I
very adamant
I
about
did. I
she
did pick
did?
up my phone.
Yes. She's ready. She's ready to go. And the way that Kim Mai is inspired to dive more in depth into Vietnamese, I hope that you guys are inspired to dive more deeply into the languages that you know and maybe even learn other languages too.
Mhm. Yeah. Like for me, I think Duolingo has like a lot of good I mean, it has a lot more languages than it used to. So, okay, I'll be honest, I burnt myself out, so I don't recommend this, but like I was learning Vietnamese, relearning Vietnamese, relearning Japanese, and trying to learn Korean on Duolingo, doing three languages at once. And I like kept it up for a good like few weeks. And then I was like, damn, that's a lot of time. Like five, they're always like, oh, you just need 5 minutes, but like they mean 5 minutes for one fucking language. Okay. Now I'm spending like 30 minutes on on
Mm,
like all these languages. And I gotta go
yeah.
back to reinforce the foundation or else the eggs will crack. I don't want my eggs to crack. Okay.
Um,
But yeah, hopefully we can learn more. I think Tanisha and I will make a promise today that we will eventually learn more.
eventually, yeah, that is a doable time frame. Thank you
Yeah,
for giving me
like
that.
Tanisha said, in public and in private, when it's a private conversation and we only want our family members to know, we're gonna start spewing our mother tongue, you know? And I want to be able to do that efficiently. Like sometimes when I'm speaking in public, I need to get that shit out quickly so they can understand without me looking like a dumbass. Okay. Like
Yep.
some sometimes
Mhm.
like you may not know what I'm saying, but I'm sure you can tell that I'm pausing and hesitating. Okay. Like there's just something she's like, I mean, I don't know what she's saying, but I don't think she knows what she's saying too, you know? So I need to improve that so I can have better
Mhm.
conversations in private.
Honestly, there is a time limit when you're trying to have a conversation with somebody because anytime that you're not speaking, they're just looking at you
Yeah.
and waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, it's like, are you gonna say it or are you gonna fucking walk away because you're wasting my time? And half the time I'm like, bitch, okay, I'll walk away and think about it later. Okay.
Imagine just giving up like mid sentence, turning your back and just walk in the other direction.
Yeah. Or like in my head, I have like some complex thing I'm gonna say, and then you know what? I like cheese, okay? That's that's what it is. I had this whole description of how this cheese is the best motherfucking cheese in the world. It's so gooey, it's so creamy. But like if I were to tell someone this cheese is really good, that's that's what I would say.
Oh
Okay.
my God.
So
We're all trying our best.
we
Um,
are, we are.
I have a fun fact, a fun translation, okay,
Okay.
for Thai. So remember how you were saying like your dad, you asked your dad like what does download, how do you say download in Vietnamese? And he was like,
Hmm.
I don't know, right?
Yeah.
The word strawberry. To say strawberry in Thai, if you ask Google Translate, she's right on this one. Okay, if you ask her strawberry, that's how you say strawberry in Thai. You insert the English language and you try to make it Thai with some
Yeah.
inflections.
See, yeah.
And that is how we deal with English language or English words that we cannot translate into our own
Yes.
language.
Yes. That's exactly what I do too. Even if there is a Vietnamese word for it, I'll just say it in a Vietnamese accent and usually they understand. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my fun fact. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode
This
about
episode,
language.
yeah, honestly, like I felt like we were very organized when we were writing this all out. We actually didn't even go through half of the stuff we wanted to talk about because we just kept going on tangents.
Right. Yeah.
We were angry, we were happy, we were strongly opinionated of certain things. And you know, this probably required a lot of editing. I'll be honest. I haven't done it yet, but I'll be honest, I'm probably going to do that because it's a mess. And I hope you guys could follow. I hope y'all had fun. And I hope we didn't offend anyone in any way when we spoke
Yeah.
strongly about certain things. But like that's how we
Yeah.
felt. And so
But honestly, like if you guys want to comment, like go ahead and call us out. Okay. Like if I pronounce something wrong, please tell me, educate me respectfully, kindly. But feel
yeah,
free to engage with us in the
yes,
comments and let us
please.
know what we did correctly or terribly, terribly wrong. Please let us know.
Yes. And and again, this is our first of the series of growing up Asian. I mean, I don't know if this will be a series, but I hope it is going to be. And hopefully this encouraged y'all to either pick up another language or improve upon the one that you know well, you kind of know well, or whatever you're interested in, like it's never too late to learn something. And don't be ashamed if you are not perfect at the language that your family
Yes.
speaks or something, because I am
Hmm.
not perfect. Tanisha is not perfect, but we're trying our
I am far
best.
from it.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're really trying. We've made many mistakes and we're still alive, okay? So I'm sure you can make mistakes and still be alive.
Wow. Somebody put that on a t shirt, please. Somebody quote that. That's our new merch. I'm excited.
But anyways, as Tanisha was saying, please engage with us. We'd love to hear from our listeners. Could you relate to our stories? What are your
Yeah.
stories? What languages can you speak? And do you have any suggestions as to what you'd want us to talk about, whether it's related to being Asian or just anything else?
So I think it's clear that we had a lot of fun talking about this.
We did.
Excited to talk
Hmm.
about more of our culture and share our culture with you, and
Hmm.
excited for you guys to share yours with us because we don't know everything and we would love to know more. That's it for our episode, guys. Thanks for listening.
Follow us on Instagram at kinda.tempted. Subscribe and give us a like on YouTube, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.